Good morning and welcome to another episode of Drew's Book Reviews. So today we're moving on to part 3 of our review of Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. So part 3 is all about the unification of mankind and how historically humanity has been slowly moving towards a more unified global order throughout its history. And it definitely goes on to highlight some interesting ideas about what that means and how it all comes together, and some interesting dynamics and contrasts. One, history, there is no justice in history, is one of kind of the key themes behind this whole progressive history towards the unification of mankind, which I would have to agree with. Ultimately, there's no justice in history. It's not about justice. But I really like the way he kind of highlights those ideals throughout this section of the book as far as the unification of man goes. So throughout this section, he kind of goes over the three universal orders, or what he describes as the three universal orders. So we have 1, money, 2, politics, and 3, religion. He also kind of touches a bit on the idea of how the idea of total freedom and total true equality are kind of work against each other. So he talks about how in order to have total freedom for both political, social, economic freedom, you're going to have inequality. You're going to have people that are rich and well off, and ultimately you're going to have poor people who are struggling to get by, because that's just how it works. To give people freedom and totally and completely, you're going to have this divide, this gap between the richest and the poorest, and that's inevitably a natural result of that. But if you're to have total equality, everyone would be on equal footing, everyone would have the same amount, would be equal in all respects. However, in order to do that, you can't have total freedom. You have to take from those who have more in order to give to those who have less, in order to make everything equal. So the freedom to spend your money and your resources as you see fit will be taken from you in order to give to those who don't have it. So you can't have total freedom and total equality. So I thought that was really interesting way to put it, kind of a different perspective on this idea. I mean, we all love freedom and we all want equality, but it's kind of hard to authentically maintain both in completeness. You're just not going to get that. And I love how it kind of goes over this idea of the historical movement towards global unification, referencing the idea that previously there were literally tens of thousands of these little isolated pockets of humanity, and these little groups of people spread throughout the world, and that has slowly been reduced to the point now where we have just a couple hundred countries and a few dozen or so economic and political alliances globally, whereas before there used to be thousands. And kind of goes over a bit of the idea how when there were these small little groups, isolated groups of people, barter and trade worked really well in these small groups. Because everybody kind of knew each other, everyone knew what each other needed, and what skills and services and products that they could provide to the group as a whole. And so trading products, skills, services for things that another need worked very well in a barter and trade system when you have that small group. But once you get into these larger groups, where we're talking several hundred or several thousand to the point of several million, and now globally billions, barter and trade just doesn't work as effectively, and this kind of necessitated the creation of what we now call money. There have been many different monetary systems throughout the world, but essentially money was created out of a need for something to work more effectively, more efficiency than the barter and trade system. And it's really kind of an interesting observation as well that ultimately money is this kind of fictitious idea, this social construct, this fake idea that doesn't have any substance in reality. And you think about it, he points out here that in the world there's a total of $60 trillion of money, but there's only about 6 trillion in actual bills and coins in physical money. The rest of the data, so 90% of our money, is just data on computer databases and computer servers that we exchange through debits, credits, that kind of thing, that we're just swapping numbers from different computer servers. 90% of our money isn't actually real. It doesn't exist in reality. It's not actual physical money. So this entire construct of money is based off of this a fictitious idea based in an idea and trust that there's some inherent value in that number on the screen or that number in the server or that physical bill or coin. But it has also served as this great unifier of humanity in that it's allowed perfect strangers from completely different cultures to be able to cooperate and trade for goods and services. So I thought that was a really interesting observation. Although money, of course, also comes with this darker side in which it allows human beings and their ethics and morals to be bought and sold on a market as well. People can become corrupted by their search for and desire to acquire this money, which ultimately only works because people believe it has value, not because it has inherent value. And it's this concept of it being this fictitious idea. And I really like that aspect of it. The whole concept of economics and how that works globally to unify humanity, both the dark side, being able to buy and corrupt us, as well as the benefit of having that global system in place that everyone recognizes as something of worth and value, even though maybe this fictitious idea to begin with. That's probably my favorite aspect of this particular section of the book. But he did point out a few other things as well. He certainly makes a convincing case for everyone being the product of imperialism or empires, every culture, and kind of explanation of how empires have influenced cultures across the globe and different empires, and they just kind of absorb all the cultures that they dominate and conquer, and how they absorb aspects of each of those cultures. So we're all ultimately, there's no pure culture left. Every culture is the result of imperialism and empires that have existed in the past. I thought that was a really interesting observation as well. He also speaks a lot about how religion has been a unifier of large groups of people, but also and how religion is spread, and how the imperialistic or empires of the past have also helped it spread. And it's a really interesting observation that I found really interesting in this book is this idea that historically we always think of the Roman Empire and their persecution of Christianity, when in reality, persecution-wise, they really didn't persecute the Christians all that much. Over a 300-year period, there was maybe 4 official times of persecution of the Christians, and yet Christians themselves have killed millions warring against different Christians based on a different interpretation of the Bible, and particularly what's referred to as St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre, taking place on August 23rd, 1572, in which French Catholics killed 5,000 to 10,000 French Protestants over the course of a 24-hour period. And that one day, Catholics, one Christian group, killed more Protestants, another Christian group, than the entire Roman Empire killed over the 300-year period from 0 to about 300 AD, give or take, before Emperor Constantine accepted Christianity and made it the state religion. So it's really kind of interesting to read that aspect of the religious history as far as a unifier of mankind goes. Those are just some things that I really liked about this particular section of the book. And I hope that you're enjoying this review series. I know I'm certainly enjoying making it, and really looking forward to doing the 4th and final part of the series, the Scientific Revolution. So don't forget, of course, to stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. As always, links to my social media profiles will be in the description below. And as always, we'll see you next time on Drew's Book Reviews. And don't forget to keep on reading. See you next time. Bye.